Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands and today it's WNR349. It's Impact Wrestling Rebellion, but I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by the Ultimate One. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on? How's everything, man? How's the UK?
Do you know what? The UK's not looking too bad at the moment. It's been pretty depressing, but we're hoping for June to come out of lockdown officially, and at the moment things haven't fucked up yet. How is New York City at this time?
Well, New York City looks like everything is open up here. I mean, they're allowing fans into the Yankee Stadium, like 33%. People in Madison Square Garden, like I think it's 15-20%. So they opening up. They walking around like everything is cool out here. It's scary right now. So I'm like, I don't trust anybody. I'm still wearing my mask until they say it's okay. I'm still gonna wear my mask. So
yeah, without a doubt. But like I said, a lot of professional wrestling to watch and enjoy. And of course, today is Impact Rebellion. And of course, you've been joining us for a couple of Impact specials that we had. But there has been some news since then. Of course, they moved to Thursdays. We've had Eric Young injured. Of course, the main event for the first Thursday was Omega, the Good Brothers versus Max Swan and Edwards. We've seen Jasford, Dashwood come number one contender. And, of course, an Omega Swan press conference. Like I said, a lot has been going down. What have been your thoughts on Impact since you've last been on the show?
Well, I like the Omega and the Swan situation. The Trey Miguel and Sami Callihan storyline has been pretty good. The Jazz and Jordan Grace storyline with Purrazzo, which I think she's one of the best women's world champion right now. Pretty much defeating Jazz and retiring her. Those have been the main stuff. I mean, even I think a week before that, before the Go Home show, they had a beautiful match between TJP and Josh Alexander. And I was like, wow, this is like the second time that I've seen them wrestle, because the first time was like a couple of months ago. And every time they wrestle each other, man, they bring it. It's like Impact opens up with a good match. And I always say the X Division is the lifeline of Impact or TNA, whatever you want to call it now. And it's always been the X Division. But, now the walking weapon and TJP putting a classic is amazing.
Well, and I think the interesting thing we mentioned there with kind of either be called TNA or Impact Wrestling, I think the build to this pay-per-view and the kind of the way we've seen it for the past 6 months or so, even a year, is they've been building to this moment as well. And accept the history of TNA and go, no, we're Impact Wrestling now, but it's something to kind of get behind and enjoy, because it has been enjoyable,
Yeah. I mean, they start off good, but the thing that maybe a lot of people won't agree with me, but this is just what I've been seeing. They do too much backstage stuff. I think they could get away from that and maybe focus more on the wrestling. Even though it's not like WWE, like 15 minutes of it, but I think they could get away from that. I mean, I like the little spots with Scott D'Amore. He'll approach them. Oh, you're going to get a title shot. That's it. You know what I'm saying? But there's some spots that I'm like, especially that Johnny Swinger's Casino, whatever. We could do without that.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. But like I said, we want to build to Rebellion. And the 21st on YouTube, we had This Is Rebellion with Mauro Ranallo narrating the documentary. He will, of course, call the main event. We got a lot of talking heads. So to hype the occasion, we had Jim Ross, who passed through the forbidden door to provide analysts for the special. I mean, he seemed positive. On the other hand, Tommy Dreamer's had doubts about egos and politics getting involved.
My God.
And he even said that if Tony Schiavone, I would slap his fat face for the things he says
on
air.
And it's funny. It's funny because I saw that that preview. I mean that video package, and I saw this on Sunday, and I'm like. This is one of the reasons I posted that Tommy Dreamer is going to eat all his words, because, I mean, it's understandable what he's saying about the politics or whatever, but you're going to talk about, you want to slap an announcer because the announcer is, he's an AEW guy. He probably not, he doesn't like the fact that they're probably working with Impact. He feels that AEW is better than Impact. But it's all a part of the storyline. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a heel something, Tommy
Yeah.
Dreamer, I don't know. He could go eat a hamburger.
Well, they also explored the relationship between AEW and Impact, profiled the personal past of Omega and Swan, and offered wrestling analysis heading into the big bout. I did like the music constantly in the background, but good promotional stuff.
Oh, it was great.
The big question is, though, and there's been a bit of heat for this as well, is why has none of this been promoted on Dynamite? Do you see a reason why it is, or do you think they should have mentioned at least something about, because it's such a big title match?
Well, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that because I did brought it up on my podcast. I believe it was Thursday, where somebody asked Tony Khan why he's not promoting the big match, you know, Rebellion. His take was that, you know, he doesn't want to give handouts. In other words, he's not going to promote something that they're going to do all the promotion, but Impact is not going to do their part. And in a way, I agree with him because Impact did not promote that show the way they're supposed to. I mean, if you want to be a great promotion, you got to start promoting your stuff. Whether you cross over, let's say if you put 2 minutes into the WWE USA Network in the United States, and to let everybody look, we're having a show on Sunday. This is the biggest match in wrestling history, whatever. So I feel that what Tony Khan did was pretty much he figured, well, you know what, I'll promote it. He did promote it at I think Wednesday, last week, and it showed it for like 2 minutes. But he figured like, look, you got to put in the work. We will.
Yeah.
You know, you got our champion, but you put in the work.
Yeah, I think the thing I didn't like what Tony Khan said about, oh well, we promote on theirs, so why should we promote theirs on us? And it's just, especially when you see the NWA relationship, of course, like Thunder Rosa and you kind of the title being mentioned, of course, all the stuff with Kenta that we had a couple of months ago, like you know what, and it's obvious for AEW that they class that relationship with New Japan more special than they do, of course, with Impact. And you could argue, of course, they do because of everything involved. But I just think that's maybe something to kind of, you know, when everybody's saying, oh, it's such a great thing, there's still obviously a promotion wants to come out on top or be the bigger one. So I think there's always going to be something like that, isn't there? You know?
To me, I think Impact has to, if you want to move up in that tier where, you know, you're talked about, you have to promote your stuff. I mean, I think out of this whole thing with the Forbidden Door, Impact has capitalized more for the simple fact that because Finn Juice has the Impact World Tag Team titles and they showing it in Japan, in Japanese events and TV in Japan. So Impact was smart. They figured, well, we'll give the belts to Finn Juice, let them promote it outside the United States, let people in Japan see, look, oh, Impact World Tag Team Champions are in Japan, you know. So they got to do more. I mean, I don't blame Tony Khan. I mean, I still think that Impact, I think it's the smarter one as far as with this Forbidden Door thing because they're doing more stuff with Japan than AEW is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So let's speak about Impact, the Go Home show, 22nd of April. We had the Good Brothers defeating Decay, Crazy Steve and Black Taurus. Carl Anderson then gets on a mic and says a message to Finn Juice saying that maybe they did get a bit too comfortable, a little bit too cocky, but they want to thank them for waking them up. You know, the only thing that matters in this world is reclaiming the tag team championship. Thank you for pouring gasoline on the fire. That is the machine gun Carl Anderson and Rebellion's Magic Killer 1-2-3, and it's just too sweet. This was a great promo and okay match. I've been wanting to see more of a serious side to the Good Brothers. I don't know about you. Is what we're seeing from enough, or do we need an extra level of aggression?
They got to bring up more aggression. This whole thing of them taking it like joking around too much, and you know they didn't take Finn Juice serious because they probably figured, well, they're still young boys from Japan, whatever. Finn Juice has pretty much leveled up in the last few years. I mean, you got to think about it. They're former World Tag League champions. They're former World Tag Team, IWGP Tag Team champions. So they took it easy, and they thought it was going to be a easy ride. But these guys, they could wrestle. I mean, they are good when it comes to teaming up, and you could beat on one of them, but they're going to make a comeback. And I think the Good Brothers need to stop with this joking around stuff and be more serious when it comes to tag team.
Yeah, let's see if they can be successful at the pay-per-view. But we see many of the Impact Wrestling talent get their predictions on who will win at Rebellion between Rich Swann and Kenny Omega. We see Susan versus Tenille Dashwood, with Tenille Dashwood getting the win. It was an okay match. She says she's happy to get the win. She asked Jonah if she saw that the champion gets to the ring. You can't forget this face. Snell says Jonah won't be standing where she is without her because she helped start the women's revolution. Perhaps there's no words for a challenger and walks away. Maybe in WWE, but I think the knockout's been around a little bit longer. What are your thoughts?
Let me tell you something. When I heard that part, when she said, I started a women's revolution, the first person that came into my mind was you. Because I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to talk to him. I had two things to say about this. Because, first of all, I didn't know Susan is Sue Young. I never knew that. Because she looks so different. She doesn't look like she could wrestle. I'm like, wait a minute. And I figured it out Sunday. And I'm like, wait a minute. What happened to my Sue Young, that crazy chick with the paint? And she doesn't look, they lower her tier. Like, she's in a lower tier now. I'm like, what the hell? She was a former knockout champion. As far as Tania Dashwood, when she mentioned that she started the women's revolution, I'm like, you didn't start nothing but started to run out the door with robbing some item, whatever, got yourself in trouble. So I don't know what you talk about that you started a women's revolution, because when the women's revolution started, you was already gone from WWE. So now don't get me wrong, Tania Dashwood could wrestle, whatever, but when she said that, I'm like, who wrote this? Who wrote this for her?
Yeah, especially in Impact, where the knockouts division and the way they treated women has been different to what WWE done for years. So why then put it onto WWE when you've gone, hang on a minute, that's what we've been doing. It'd be the equivalent of them going, well, WWE created cruiserweights. Well, no, you've had the X division. Like, deal with that rather than getting. But there's not, and people will say, of course, Paige and Emma for the NXT Women's Championship very first match. Yes, she was a part of it, but Paige would be obviously a much bigger factor in the kind of women's revolution. And of course, that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah. Because to me, when all that started, when Paige came up to WWE, the women's revolution hasn't even started yet. So like I said, when Tania Dashwood came up, the revolutions haven't even started yet. When the revolution started, she was gone. So
she was hanging around with Santino doing the comedy shtick when she kind of got let go. So this is the kind of thing. But it's how they change history, I suppose. And we see Brian Myers refuses to be stuck in the past. Weirdly enough, he keeps growing while Matt Cardona is stuck in yesteryear. He needs to move on like he has done. It all changed with Rebellion. So you see clearly now who Cardona is, someone who's been on his leg for too long. He's getting a roster cut at Rebellion, and with that, this was good shit. Brian Myers is really impressing me at the moment because of the more serious tone that he's taking.
And that goes to show you, right, that Brian Myers, his talent was being wasted for so many years in WWE. This guy, you see him wrestle, you'll be like, this is not the same guy that I saw in WWE. This guy had supposedly 1,000 defeats, something like that. That was his gimmick in WWE.
Yeah.
And you see him now, and it's incredible. Like him and Matt Cardona, both of those guys. Cardona, I mean, even though these guys were former World Tag Team Champion, but if you think about it, Cardona, I think, was the one who got probably the most better rub, because he won the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, only to lose the next night. But it goes to show you that these guys are talented. If you give them the opportunity and you have somebody with good creative ideas, these guys are going to show you what they're made of. I see Brian Myers. I'm like, this is not the same guy I've been seeing in WWE for years. Part of the Edge heads, part of the 1,000 losses, and I'm like, nah, he has improved so much. Not that he improved, he probably had it, and it's, remember, when you're in WWE, you wrestle the WWE way. So it's
it's night and day, and this is Brian Myers is the guy who's been around for so long. Had the Sami Zayn's debut match in NXT, and you think, why did they waste that for so long? But we see Shearer versus Jake something, when it's Shearer with a Sky High. Nice shout out to Elo. This is a big man match. And then a couple of promos, Sami Callihan telling Trey he threw it all away. Is it pride or is he just stupid? He has a date with a death machine. And then Trey Miguel was talking to one of his friends. What does he have to prove to himself? Go out there Sunday and show him the passion. And Trey promises he'll be the last man standing. He ain't doing anything for anyone but him. And then we see some excellent training montage of Trey kind of hitting the tire with a sledgehammer and kind of get all the good shit that I like. I thought this was really well done by both of them. Well done.
Yeah, I mean that storyline is pretty good. When it comes to the anything that has to do with last man standing, when it comes to Sami Callihan, you're gonna see violence. He should be part of that group. Violence by Design with Eric Young, because he fits right in there. The guy is sick. I mean, he comes up with crazy stuff. So yeah, I was definitely looking forward to that match between Trey Miguel and Sami Callihan. And Sami
Right.
Callihan, when he's on that mic, he's good in the promos.
Yeah, I've started to become more of a kind of fan of him as well. Just seeing more and more of his stuff because he's 100% kind of in the character. But we see a pissed off Impact World Champion Rich Swann made his way to the ring, and then we see Omega and Don Callis appear via video. Callis said we'll be on Impact every week after Omega wins the company's title. And suddenly the arena darkened, and Moose made his way to the ring in his first appearance since losing to Swann at Final Resolution. He wasn't him. He said he showed the champion what pain is really like. He said he's bigger, stronger, and more skilled than Omega. And the Clean had something he didn't when they wrestled. Three Stooges willing to do whatever he wants. You better not lose those titles, or you'll be paying the ultimate consequences to me, Moose warned. Swann vowed to retain, then pin Moose one more time. This was good stuff, but was it a bit of a surprise Moose showed up just a week before Rebellion?
I mean, I think they're gonna probably carry on that same storyline from a couple of months ago, where I guess because it's gonna come down to Moose saying, well, I would have been the world champion, I would have never lost to Kenny Omega, so I think that's they're probably preparing another storyline with that, but I think it's gonna be more to that, and we'll talk about it in the on the beginning for the pay-per-view review, but. Who knows? I mean, I was surprised because I was wondering, like, what happened to Moose? He lost, and you didn't see him for like 3 weeks on TV. I'm like, okay, is he gonna show up at the pay-per-view and cost Swann the title? That's one of the things I was thinking about. But I guess he shows up, letting him know, well, if you lose those belts, there's gonna be consequences. I'm looking forward to what those consequences are gonna be.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. And then we see Kira Hogan versus Jordan Grace, with Grace winning via DQ. Fire and Flavor beat her down, but Rachel Ellering makes her impact down to make the save. The daughter, of course, Paul Ellering, manager of the Road Warriors. She looks like she's Jazz's pick. Grace gets on the mic and points out the obvious. It is good to see Ellering. What are your thoughts on Rachel Ellering?
Rachel Ellering, I haven't seen much of her work, but she looks like she needs to tone down a little bit. She looks like a little heavy set. I don't know. I mean, I gotta see more of her, her work. I know I saw her in the Mae Young Classic, and she looked much thinner back then. I don't know what happened. Maybe I know she was in Japan and Shine. So we'll see what she brings to the table. I mean, it's good that first of all you need to build up that tag team division if you're gonna have knockouts champion, because the champions are good as they the competition. You cannot have, a set of tag teams and don't have anybody else, just one. I think Rachel Ellering now being with Jordan Grace, the question is, this is the month I think that Jordan Grace's contract is up. Will she sign and stay with them? The same could be said with Josh Alexander. We'll see.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. But what I liked about it is the fact that Grace and Jazz won the match against Fire and Flavor to get the opportunity, and because she had a retirement match, she said, "Look, I've already retired. Let me get a partner. Let me get someone to partner her," which kind of is better to see because it gives someone else a kind of chance. In the main event, Eric Young with a torn ACL, wrestling his third match in these tapings versus Eddie Edwards. Winner Eric Young. After the match, everyone got to fight to end the go-home show to Rebellion. I mean, Young and Edwards had wicked in-ring chemistry, resulting in strong matches in nearly every out, and this was another one. Yeah, it's been great build-up. There's no doubt about it. With the Impact Go Home, the kind of Rebellion, and everything else that we've seen, it has been brilliant. Of course, we start off with the pay-per-view April 25th. The countdown to Rebellion, all the stuff from Rebellion and Impact that we have seen. The Rebellion pre-show match was Rosemary and Havoc versus Kimberly and Susan. I tried to watch it, but it skipped from Susan's entrance into the match, so I couldn't really see what was going on. Navarro's course left, so Havoc needs a friend. I mean, out of 5, I'm going to get to 2.25, even though I didn't see it. Did you see the kickoff match by any chance?
I did. That's this is where I found out that Susan is too young. And then the first question that came into my head was, again, and this is, I think me and you spoken about this in 3 times we got together. Why is it a Decay character is always opening up a pay-per-view? you know. So, I mean, to me, the tag team between Havoc and Rosemary, I mean, it looked kind of weird because as I look at it and I'm saying to myself, these two women wrestled about 2 years ago in a crazy match, and now they're teaming up. So my question is Havoc part of the decay? Because Havoc right now don't have a partner since Nirvana left. The Kimberly, this match, I tell you, it was just wasn't the greatest watching these, especially Susan. That girl is just box central. I don't know. I give this match was like a 2 to me. So it was good for for I guess the opening show or whatever the kickoff show for what it is, you know. So
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
feel right.
it was alright. It wasn't alright.
Well, like I said, all the build-up's over. We've had to go home. We've had the YouTube specials, the countdown, and everything is ready. I think they've built this show beautifully when you consider they've been building up for maybe 2 or 3 months, and with the storylines involved. What was your excitement level for this event and the match you were most looking forward to?
Well, one, I was looking forward for the X Division title match because I knew Josh Alexander was there, and I was rooting for him to win a belt. Even though in my mindset I was like, well, his contract is up in May, but who knows? They give him the belt, he probably would stay. The Violent by Design, because I knew that Eric Young was hurt. I'm like, I want to see who they're gonna bring in to cover that, and the Sami Callihan versus Trey Miguel, I was looking forward, and of course the world title match between Omega and Swan. But so I was very excited about this. I mean, I don't get that excited for Impact pay-per-view, so because I'm not just looking for one. But this, it looked like the build-up, the way they set up the card. I was like, okay, it should be exciting. It should be something I could sit down and watch.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, like I said, I think the way they built it, all the matches kind of had a place on the card. With the opening promos, kind of standard stuff, but it's been hyped beyond belief. We see Rich Swann arriving at the event, Trey Miguel, Alicia Edwards, and Willie Mack. Matt Striker, Dina Brown on commentary at ringside, and Dave Penza was, of course, the ring announcer in Impact Wrestling. 2-decade history is dominated by the Red Hot X division, and that kicks off the pay-per-view and set the tone for the remainder of the show. We see the inevitable Ace Austin defending the X division title against the walking weapon Josh Alexander and TJP in this triple threat. We see lightning quick action for the reversals and counters dominated early before Austin soared through the air with a Fosbury flop, wiping his opponent out. The early aerial assault, the immediate successive champion Salt, as Alexander recovered, delivering a side Russian leg sweep and suplex combination that brought all 3 competitors to the mat. That was nice, when he's going up, you just power. But none.
Josh Alexander was hitting those German suplex. This guy's like, his gimmick is a walking weapon. But
I was just about to say how diverse the 3 are actually in this matchup, because you've got the kind of the veterans, so TJP, who's been there, done that, and so technical, and then the kind of wrestling machine, which is Josh Alexander, and then Ace Austin, which is just kind of like the high flyer type. It's such a great array of talent in one ring,
Yeah. It's like if you blink, you miss something. That's how this was this type of match where if you look at your notes or you look down, you'll miss something, and then you got to rewind it back because of like what happened. So it's like you had to focus on this match because you have 3 great talent that they're quick, and they'll sell the move, whatever, and then the other 2 are wrestling, and then next thing you know, the one who sold the move may come back in and do something crazy. So that was the type of match.
Well, like I said, none of the 3 competitors established full control at any point. TJP delivered a Mamba splash on more than one occasion, only to have the championship aspirations snatched from him, first by the way of Alexander ankle lock, and then by the way of interference of Madeline Fulton on behalf of Austin. And of course, Alexander with the ankle lock as well. Just sheer power. The second one took the former champion out of the equation, allowing Alexander to deliver divine intervention to the champion and pick up the win and his first singles title with Impact Wrestling. A bit of surprise wasn't the ankle lock, but what were your thoughts on this matchup?
Oh, this matchup, I'm telling you, like I said, if you blink, you miss the action because was like back and forth. Nobody really had control of the match because, again, one guy will sell and then the next guy, they'll go at it for like a couple of minutes, do submission moves. I love Josh Alexander's move, that divine intervention. I mean, it was great. He hit Austin with it twice. It's the second one he beat him. But then you can't sleep with TJP because he's quick and he'll get you with the octopus. But this match was great, man, and what a way to open up the show. I mean, you can't act again. The X division, that division since 2002 has been the lifeline, the heartbeat of Impact / TNA. So this was a great match, a great way to open up a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, there was no fucking around to start. This felt like a proper pay-per-view, you know. We see Matt Striker talking a bit gibberish during it.
Oh, God.
And we did have a couple. It's just, I told you about him, didn't I?
Yeah. It's like, you know what's funny? Because at first, before you told me, I'm like, okay. But he tries to be educated on everything. I'm like, dude, just shut up and call the match. Like, oh, my God. I can't. So.
We see Ace calling Hebner to take the card away. Just a little thing, I suppose, but it's funny seeing him do that. He also didn't have one successful defence before losing this championship, which is a bit of a shame. But like I said, I don't know if they felt like they were rushing through the match or just the speed that it just didn't stop for the moment that it started. This was a really fun opener. What are you going to give that out of 5?
Oh, yeah, I'm giving that a 5. Definitely a 5. That best way to get started off a pay-per-view, it was a 5. I think as far as Ace Austin is concerned, and I've been a big advocate on this. I mean, I may sound crazy, but I think Ace Austin will be a future great world champion. I mean, he has the skills, he has everything. Hey, and nobody can tell me, oh, well, he's a junior X division guy. Listen, so was AJ Styles, and he won that belt. So was Chris Sabin, he won that belt. So Ace Austin, to me, is the future of the company. You know, if Impact is smart, they'll sign that guy for a long term.
I think without that, like I said, all three on show gave a great way to start a pay-per-view. I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5 to start us off. A 4. It wasn't a 5 out of 5 match for me. I thought it was really enjoyable. You had the slight botch off the top. You had a couple of other things not happening as well. So that's what I'm going to say. Poll-wise, we asked everybody who would win the polls. TJP only got 7%. Poor bastard. Ace Austin 34%. Josh Alexander 59%. Prediction-wise, the WNR Dan is back for Impact predictions. I whooped him last time round. This time he went for Josh Alexander. I went for Ace Austin, so he's 1-0 up at this moment in time. It's not great. But we see the Violent by Design faction stood backstage. Eric Young spoke to someone off camera about being his replacement in the match, while Dina, Joe Doring, and Rhino stood by. The replacement wrestler was not shown, and then we see a video package spotlighting the 8-man tag team matchup. Of course, Eric Young was injured with the ACL, did wrestle a couple of them. We see them coming out, and after the entrances, we see none other than W. Morrissey, formerly Big Cass of WWE, as the mystery man. What were your thoughts on this?
Oh, that was a shocker, because it's funny because my roommate had asked me if I saw the interview he had with Chris Van Fleet, and he looked real good, whatever. So when I saw him, I was like, wow. And he looked great. He was cut up. He looked nothing like the way he was in WWE. And when I saw him part of Violent by Design, I'm like, what? Who in the world is going to beat this faction now? Now you got Big Cass in there, or W. Morrison, whatever his name is, and now you got Joe Doring with that group. I'm like, who's going to beat these guys? You know what I'm saying? Unless they get Diener and beat him up, but they got two big powerhouses in there.
Well, I thought for a second Joe Doring's son was coming out, and then I realised it was Big Cass. And of course, a lot of people have also said he looks a bit like Edge as well. But all joking aside, it is a great opportunity. We'll get on to the match, and the Hills try to cut the ring off, isolating their opponents to keep them from the partners. It worked momentarily as it worked over Storm, but a hot tag to Mac brought around the babyface comeback and drew it to the action, descending into chaos. Morrissey, who was a standout of the match, dominated the opposition. Sabre did with a suplex to Dina that wiped out the rest of the competitors on the floor. That was a really cool spot as well.
Yeah.
So dangerous to do. But then we see the former NXT and WWE superstar obliterate Mac with a big boot and finish him off with the East River Crossing for the win. And then showing a bitterness and viciousness afterwards, he unloaded a barrage of punches to the already defeated former X Division champion. What were your thoughts? As a hell of a debut?
Well, it looked like this match was pretty much to introduce formerly Big Cass, because this guy dominated most of the match. I mean, he kind of had a little trouble picking up Willie Mack to do that side slam that he does, a New York City side slam. But he looked good. And you mentioned something about that he looks like Edge. Yeah, he does look like a young Edge, but he is caught up. He looked good. I think, by them adding W. Morrison in there made the whole rest of the opponent group look weak because there was no way in the world you had, was it Saban, Storm, Mac, and who was the other guy in there?
Eddie Edwards.
Yeah, Eddie Edwards. I'm like, no, you cannot have them beat Fighting by Design when they got two big dogs in there. Okay, because Doring hits, and he hits like Stan Hansen. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, go ahead.
This is what I was saying. We were talking about Doring last time out, kind of being that kind of cut gem that they found as a monster. And now you chuck in, like you said, you've got two giants and the world's widest wrestler in Rhino, and it's quite a formidable. Them on the apron during the match, like the hard camera, you couldn't see into the ring because of how big those guys are.
It looked like they were a bunch of little kids wrestling with these big giants.
Yeah. And it's just like, I tell you what, like, I did like Eric Young watching on the chair on the entranceway and the kind of his reactions to it as well. And I know there's going to be a lot of jokes about Big Cass, but I've seen obviously his NXT WWE stuff. This is the best that I've seen him not only look physically, but what he did in the ring as well.
Yes. Even though when he was making his single run in WWE, that's why he got hurt. Whatever. Now. If you go back to the way he looked before he got injured in WWE, compared to the way he looks now, the guy's caught up. He looked massive. He looks intimidating. I'm not sure if he did sign with the Impact yet, but we'll find out. Why wouldn't he not sign with Impact? But he's gonna be dumb. Who's gonna beat that guy? It'll be a great match between him and Moose. That'll be a good match.
Oh, yeah. This is the thing, isn't it? And the Violent by Design now is building. You've got Dina, you've got Doring, and now you've got, like I said, if Morris or Cass joins in, then you've kind of got that group of, here's the young guys that we kind of build up as well. So it's a kind of win-win situation with Eric Young calling the shots as well. So they've got that mic man, haven't they? The promo guy.
But now my question is, now you got this heel faction, like Violent by Design, which is right now they look real good, right? And with Eric Young on the sideline, still looking like this mad scientist sitting down and watching chaos happen in the ring. Now you got to build a babyface faction to go against these guys. Who are they going to be? Please tell me you're not putting Tommy Dreamer in there, because I'm not. It's not going to happen for me. Or not an RVD, because I think RVD retired. But there's always, when it's a faction and hardcore matches, Tommy Dreamer is always involved. So we'll see. I like what they did. They made sure that they didn't F up this by allowing the babyface to beat this group with two giants in them. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was really, really enjoyable. Out of 5, I'm going to give that 3 3/4 out of 5. What are you going to score it?
Yeah, about 3/4. 3 3/4. It was a decent match. It was nothing to jump off. The surprising part was good in the beginning when he showed up. The rest of the match was pretty decent. I think what they did, they changed it around a little bit. They were like, well, we got this guy now, and it's kind of an introduction for Big Cass or whatever he calls now.
Yeah, they might have to change that name, but at this moment in time, that's what
they said W. Morrison, that's his name. So
yeah, it just sounds like a supermarket, but we'll let them work. We'll let them work.
Yeah. Poll-wise, in my bag.
Yeah, it's a nice W Morrison bag. Anyway, poll-wise, VBD got 62%. Predictions, Dan and myself both went for Saban's team, so 1-0 still to Dan. And then we move on. We see a career-long friendship gave way to a bitter grudge match as Matt Cardona battled the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast co-host, former WWE Tag Team title partner Brian Myers. I was really looking forward to this one, actually. We see a great video package. Of course, the Major Brothers explode. I think maybe me more, I don't know, because I'm obviously a fan of the podcast as well and do collect some wrestling figures, that these two guys getting along. But is it a case of there's a reason for the story and to see it play out, because we never had a kind of one-on-one match or is it a case of Impact doing WWE storyline?
I think what they did was good, because the story, I don't think it's a WWE storyline. It's more of they playing it off, because remember there was a part where Brian Myers said I was here first. So in other words, it's like, oh, Matt Cardona is following me, to where I could be successful, So they're making it look like Cardona, is being jealous of Brian Myers because he was there first. They pretty much told the history of these two, which is good because it gives you a bigger story, so you know where they're coming from. So now it makes it look like Brian Myers is really jealous of Cardona. Same thing could be said about Cardona being Myers because Myers got there first. So it adds up. You know what I'm saying? And I think the match pretty much showed that what the story was all about. I enjoyed the match.
Yeah, but onto it. So Myers used Cardona's emotions against him early, earning the upper hand and working him over in the centre of the ring. Cardona dodged the roster cut and delivered what commentator Mike Striker referred to as a hot mess. An ode to Cardona's fiancée Chelsea Green. Myers kicked out at 2 and delivered a big spear on the arena floor. When he hit the spear, I was like, oh, that looked really impressive. And I thought, he's a former edgehead. Of course he's not going to know how to use a spear, isn't he?
Yeah, you're right, yeah. Now that you mentioned it, yeah, that's right. He was part of the edgehead. He did that pretty good. He caught him real good.
Really, really good. Cardona answered with radio silence on the ramp, but hurt himself as his tailbone and lower back collided with his steel. Back in the ring, Cardona composed himself.
Let me say something about that. Why in the hell are you doing a radio silence outside on that real narrow ass freaking entranceway when you could get hurt? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's true, and like you said, and the way it's awkward landing as well, it's just not worth the risk. Especially like you said, it's not kind of even a proper ramp way, is it? So you don't know what's going to happen. We see back in the ring that Cardona and his knee gave out. Myers feigned concern about his former friend. The referee made their way to the ringside area. Well, I think we've spoken about this. I fucking hate when they do the fake injury shit because it
wasn't a fake injury.
But it's also wasn't it a fake injury?
No, they said his kneecap going out of place. He landed messed up. But when he landed, that was. I don't care what anybody tells me. That was not written. He landed messed up.
Well, like I said, I thought it was part of the angle because when they show the replay, I'm going, well, how the fuck am I going to know? Because they do it so many times, and they do the injury, and you go, I know exactly what's going to fucking happen here. Yeah. And like you said, I did like the difference of it because Myers, of course, lifted Cardona's feet, dropping with a clothesline, then a roster cut to finish him off. But again, it was just like, I don't know. For me, it felt like a very WWE style matchup as opposed to kind of the action in the ring and the kind of thing that we saw. What were your thoughts on this match?
I think the match was decent. I like the back and forth stuff. Now, the part of the injury, I know to you looks like a WWE thing, but if you look at it, his knees buckle. I don't care what anybody. I have had injuries. Your knees are not supposed to bend that way. What I did like I said they're gonna probably stop the match or whatever, but I guess they did an audible call because he picked him up and hit him with 2 clothesline, whatever, the roster cut.
Yeah.
But think about this now. So let's say if it wasn't or it is an injury or not, right? Now you're going to make the story even better because he's going to take time off. Cardona's probably going to take time off. Plus, remember, he may have to take time off because Chelsea Green may get deported back to her country. Her green card is already probably done. So he may need to take time out because of that situation, But look how great it would be for him to come back, make a comeback, and have another match with Brian Myers. I think I enjoyed the one-on-one confrontation that they had instead of the tag team when it was Myers and Hernandez against Edwards and Cardona, because then you added 2 other people that they really don't know their real true storyline behind their friendship. So this match was pretty good. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I think the finish was pretty good, but that injury, according to the last thing I read on his page, he said his kneecap came out of place. And he was able to put it back. But he landed messed up. I'm like, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. So you got to give him credit. He finished the match.
One of the things that did make me laugh was Matt Striker, again, talking gibberish through the match. calling, and he's going, Matt Cardona's got a problem with Kurt Hawkins, and I was like, you've just fucking called him Kurt Hawkins, you dickhead. Like, think about what you're saying and then process it afterwards, rather than, you know. And I'll tell you another thing, and this is not a shot or Impact at all. I don't know if you noticed, or maybe I just need glasses, but the contrast on the camera angles were quite off-putting sometimes, because you kind of had like a clear shot, and then you had a kind of, you know, a little bit different every time you go to a different camera. And for me, it's just, you know, it's just felt a little bit not unprofessional.
I don't know if it's the camera, the people who run the cameras don't know what the hell they're doing. Because sometimes it looks bright, sometimes it doesn't. They got wide shots, and they'll have the wide shot, and they don't have the wide shots. It drives people crazy, you know. But Matt Striker is annoying. I mean, I'm telling you, it's funny. I think I wrote it on my notes. I think one of the matches. I think it was the first match, and I'm like, the dude is annoying. He just don't stop talking. Like, okay, it's one thing if you talk about the match, you talk about the storyline, but now you go and now you want to explain this big thing. I'm like, dude, just shut up and just call the match. You know?
Yeah, I think without a doubt. Match-wise, out of 5, what are you going to give that?
I'll give that 3.25.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give that a 3.5, because I was looking forward to it, and it wasn't a bad match in the end. Poll-wise, Matt Cardona got 64% of it. Prediction-wise, Dan went for Matt, and I went for Myers, so it is 1-1 with that. We then see GM Billy interviewing Tony Khan, who's accompanied by Jerry Lynn, Tony Schiavone, and Aubrey Edwards. Khan said Edwards was there to referee the championship match. Scott D'Amore showed up with Brian Hebner. D'Amore said he was happy to have everyone there, but had the wrestling thing under control. Khan mocked that Brian would never screw anybody. D'Amore suggested that the 2 referees in the match, which Khan agreed to. I guess Tony Schiavone's lucky that Tommy Dreamer is not around. What are your thoughts about? What are your thoughts about 2 referees in the main event?
Now, here was my biggest fear out of all this. I mean, I knew Aubrey Edwards was going to be the referee. I didn't even know they were going to do the 2 referee thing, whatever, till like later on the pay-per-view. I mean, it's good because now if one referee gets knocked down, now you bring in the next one. My worry was, okay, if Aubrey Edwards plays the role of, how you call it? Hold on one second. If it plays the role of, screw job, Canadian, Survivor Series screw job, then that's going to mess up her reputation, because the woman right now as a referee, she has a lot, people talk highly about how she works as a referee. So that was like only my only concern about it. But then I'm like, do AEW and Impact, are they really planning to do something like a screw job where Swan wins or somebody cheats because of an AEW referee? I'm like, you're not going to go that route. First of all, AEW already screwed themselves up when they did the explosion match. It was a dud. You're going to go that route? That was like my main concern about that. But, but it was a good idea to have 2 referees, because if one guy gets knocked down or somebody gets knocked down, she could have came in.
I think I doubt we'll get onto that main event in a little bit, but up next is the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, Fire and Flavor versus Jordan Grace and Rachel Ellering. Jazz came out with them, and it was awesome because, of course, she had a manager's license, which you have to get, of course, in the professional wrestling business. We see the champions dominated early, shrugging off displays of power from the challengers and isolating Grace. They beat her down with spine buster, creating separation, and allowed the tag to Ellering low. The powerlifts exploded into the ring with running back elbows and a twisting leg drop from the ropes. The action broke down with the alert Stills expertly shoving Ellering into Grace, who had Hogan pinned with a fight spinning to the floor. Actually quite like that break up there. We see a botch follow which nearly killed Stills. She just came flying out of the ring, and you're going, what the fuck was that?
That woman should not be doing no two-face suicidas nowhere. As big as she is, no, that didn't work. It didn't work for me.
No, it was bad. The champions could not put away their opponents, but we see Grace neutralizing Stills on the floor. Ellering countered a Fishman neckbreaker and Fishman spinebuster for the win, and your new Knockouts Tag Team Champions, of course, Rachel Ellering and Jordan Grace. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
First of all, I was surprised that Fire and Flavor lost the belts. I'm gonna be serious about that. And the reason I said that was, one, when Jazz came out, and maybe it's me, maybe I've been thinking about this the last couple of weeks. When Jazz came out, to me, Jazz looked like she's about to turn on Jordan Grace. I don't know if it's me, I don't know, or whatever, but when Jazz was out there, and all of a sudden now she has a manager's. I'm like, oh wow, you retired, you already got a manager's license. So to me, the match is pretty good, exception with those blotches. Why is Jordan Grace, as big as she is, flying through the road doing two place suicide first of all, and then landing kind of wrong on Tasha Steele, right? Rachel Ellering, the girl is so hyped. I mean, when she starts doing her offense, she's all over the place. She needs to slow it down a little bit and maybe, go with the flow. And I was really shocked that they won the tag team title. I mean, and maybe other people were like, oh, we knew it was going to happen. And the reason I say that was because to me, Tasha Steele and Hogan were the better tag team as far as chemistry and double teaming. I don't know if you agree with that, but I found it very surprising. So to me, that shows me if you gave the belts to Jordan Grace, that means you're going to sign her to stay because our contract is up next month. May something.
Usually, us two will maybe disagree or something like this, but I completely agree with you here. Fire and Flavor are a proper tag team. Of course, we'll get on to predictions in a minute, And I think it's weird to see it given to Ellie and Grace, unless, like I said, there's a reason for it. Interesting attire from Ellering. Looked like she sat on a blue pen or something like that because of the I wasn't sure.
It didn't fit for her. And to me, do you know what this felt like too? And you probably agree with me. Didn't it felt like a WWE thing where they'll just put two people together and all of a sudden now they tag team champions?
Yeah. That's what pissed me off a little bit because obviously with Fire and Flavor, prediction-wise, I went Fire and Flavor because I thought they're not going to take the titles off them with like a kind of oddball tag team. And another thing that annoyed me, Matt Striker, all through the night he's been hyped up and going, oh my god, this is brilliant, and yet the finish happened with the commentators going, oh yeah, that's over. And then afterwards he goes, oh, I guess I was caught by surprise. You're new champion. Well, call the fucking match. Rather than trying to get yourself over,
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like, I felt like Matt Striker, I guess he probably knew that Mauro Ronaldo was going to be like the lead commentator for the main event. He was trying to get himself over as like a great commentator, and he was just being annoying all night. Like, I'm like, dude, pay attention to what you're doing. Like, and I feel bad because D'Lo Brown, to me he's a clown too because he just keep following Matt Striker and they both sound like buffoons. I don't know. That's just the way I look at it.
I think D'Lo's going to be led down the wrong path if he keeps following Striker.
Oh, yeah.
D'Lo should interrupt it. Go, Matt, you've just missed the end of the match today. See, we've got new tag team champions. I'm going to give that a 3.5 out of 5. What are you going to score it?
I'll give that 3.25. I think the match should have been a little better because, and like I said before, Rachel Ellery was all over the place. She would come in the ring and she would just hyper, and sometimes she'll go for a clothesline and the girl is dropping way before she even touched her. It just caught me up by surprise. I really thought Fire and Flavor were gonna retain the belts. I think they have better chemistry. And I don't know why they took the belts away from them. I mean, they're good. They're that type of heat from they're a heel team that gets a lot of heat because of the way they are. They got that, I'm the best and you could kiss my butt, whatever. That's the type, but you're going to take the belts just because you put a new tag team together? Come on.
It didn't really make sense in that way. Grace got 67%, Grace's team, of the poll there, so people thought they were going to do it. Prediction-wise, Dan also went for Grace and Ellering. I went Fire and Flavor because that's the same issue. I thought they're not going to take the titles off them, but they did, so Dan goes 2-1 up. And then we see a video package setting up the last man standing match. I remember speaking to you, I think on the last pay-per-view or the last special we did, and saying about Trey Miguel and Sami Callihan that it wasn't on Hard to Kill because that's when the storyline had just started. So, I mean, that is 4 months ago now that they've been building. It's been a great build, maybe one of the best build show.
Yeah, it's been building. I mean, but it's great because if you think about it, remember the Rascals broke up in January. They broke up and then they left. 2 of them left to NXT, and he's still behind. And people were wondering where he's coming. And when he came back, and the way they started that storyline with him and Sami Callihan was great because it just shows you it's like Sami Callihan testing his will. Like, are you passionate about the business and blah blah blah? And I mean, it's a great way. And then what, a couple of weeks ago, I think it was. That was a week before the Go Home show. I mean, he asked to shake it. Actually, he was asking Trey Miguel to join him to show, to see if he really got passion, whatever. And Trey Miguel said, no, I'm not doing it. So, I mean, the whole way they set this up was perfect. To me, I think it was perfect storyline leading to this match. Last man's thing.
I think it was great, yeah. And the whole point of it was Sami Callihan, the draw, trying to get Trey Miguel's head, who, wants to break out, like I said, from the Rascals and everything out. The first move was to throw Trey to the outside, off the top, onto the outside, and you're thinking, right, we're in this one straight away. There was no fucking around it. Again, we see Trey launching himself through the ropes for a tope suicida that saw him crash sternum first into the guardrail. And when you see that kind of, not even 5 minutes into this, like, what is actually going to happen?
And I'm like, how in the world you're doing a two-page suicide 3 minutes into the match, and you nearly ate the whole railing, the whole set of railings outside? I mean, he hit that shit hard. I was like, I was like, oh my god, like, this match was, oh my god, it was gruesome. It's like these guys were doing stuff that you'd be like. But then again, you gotta expect when this comes to Sami Callihan, you gotta expect that type of match. I just didn't know they were gonna do that to Miguel like that.
This is what I'm saying, and with Sami as well, getting to know the captain, knowing the kind of depths that he goes, and bringing Miguel into it. You see like unsuccessful high risk maneuver by tossing Miguel onto the floor and punishing with an array of weapons. Wrench to the teeth, anyone?
No.
Like,
I was like, just when you think Sami Callihan goes low when it comes to these street fights or whatever, hardcore matches, he grabs a monkey wrench and puts it inside Trey Miguel's mouth. I'm like, what are you doing? Are you trying to take the guy's lungs out with that? I'm like, oh my god. It was just, they took it to another level.
Without doubt. Back in the ring, the former Rascal used Callahan's own twisted creativity against him, driving the hill into a pile of chairs. Usually that's the finish, but they're only just getting started because Callahan tried to beg off, but throw him into driving him back first into the propped up legs of the table. The table was set, and I'm thinking the table's set up the wrong way. What the fuck are they doing here? And then I realised what they're trying. And poor D'Lo Brown thinking that they impaled a wrestler live on pay-per-view.
Oh my god! I mean, when Callahan grabbed Miguel and slammed him on top of the legs, I was like, "What? These guys were taking it to another." I mean, I gotta give it to Miguel for him to take that type of bump, because at first I was saying to myself, "What the fuck are they trying to do with this table?" Because the table didn't break. The freaking two parts of the bottom of the legs were bended. So now they turn the damn table around, and then he uses Trey Miguel to do a body slam on him on the damn legs. I'm like, yo, my god, what the hell? I was like, oh, they taking it to another level. I mean, it was crazy.
They did. I mean, everything Callahan threw at the babyface Miguel narrowly survived to continue fighting. We see a pile driver off the second rope, like bouncing off the table. Trey slid out the ring to break the count. You're thinking that could actually break something. People go, oh, the table didn't break, and you're going, no, that could actually break the fucking neck if you're not careful. So, and then the stairs set up on the edge with Sami pile driving Miguel onto him. You're thinking there's not a lot else that can be done. And then I think of the amount of last man standing matches that you and I would have watched, and to see the end of this where the stairs are on him up against the apron, Sami sitting on him, think he's going to be counted, getting counted down. You see Miguel coming out from under the apron and then hitting the cutter with Callahan going through the table off the stairs as well. This was a great sequence and a fantastic match. What were your thoughts on this?
Well, to me, I wasn't too happy about the ending the way it did, because first of all, you got power drive on top of a damn steel stairs. Okay, when he put the stairs on his body and covered them completely, I knew he was gonna come under the ring. I'm like, you're not gonna sell this like that? That's the part I say you got power drive on the stairs. I remember Danny Bryan got a power drive by Kane or Tombstone, and he was out for weeks. This guy get hit, and he comes from the bottom of the ring, and he does a cutter, and Sami Callihan don't get up. I'm like, and then I love how the commentators say, "Oh, because of his sweat, he was able to get up. What? I'm like, his sweat? This is what you coming with, that he couldn't get up because of his sweat? I'm like, no. That's the only part that I think kind of disappointed me, because, yeah, maybe they were trying to push Miguel to win it, but if you Sami Callihan is going to make a move like that, that match should have been over. There's no way no one's going to get up from a power driver on a set of steel steps. No way in the world.
But I think that's the problem, and I think we've seen it in Impact, we've seen it in NXT with the O'Reilly Cole match, we've seen it in AEW, of course, with the kind of the barbed wire match. It's turning into the Wile E. Coyote chasing down the road runner, you know, with a meep meep, and you just like Acme rocket launcher thrown at a wrestler soon, because it's like, what else can they do? But I still thought it was quite a clever ending to this match. His story's been built for months, and I've become a fan of Sami's character. He's 100% into it, and Trey obviously getting the victory there. What are you going to score that out of 5?
I'm going to give that 3 3/4, and the reason I'm giving it 3 3/4 because of the ending. It could have been a 4 if you're going to make a finishing move where the guy's not going to get up and the pinfall falls right there and there. I would have given it a 4, but it didn't happen. I mean, like, if you're going to do a spot like that, Trey Miguel should have never. It's like if you watch so many last man standing matches in your life in wrestling, and then all of a sudden you hit the spot, and now you put the damn staircase or steps on top of the guy, you know he's gonna come under the ring. So it kind of, you already knew the ending. So I give it 3 3/4.
Well, I'm going to give it a 4 1/4 because I actually quite liked that ending. Poll-wise, Sami Callihan got 58% of the votes. Prediction-wise, Dan went Sami. I went for Trey, so it's 2-2 with predictions at the moment. And then we see Gia Miller interviewing Impact Unified Champion Rich Swann in the backstage area. Swann said nothing will stop him from proving he's the best. He said everyone talks about how he's the biggest match of his career, but it's also the biggest match of Kenny Omega's career. Swann said they both won championships, but the difference is this match is once the bell rings, one person will take home all the gold. Swann added they weren't in an AEW ring, they said it was an Impact pay-per-view, and it's his house. Swann said Omega had another thing coming if he thought he would take his title in-house. I don't know what you thought about the promo itself from Rich Swann there, but it looked like he just wrestled a match as opposed to getting ready.
Yeah, it is true though. He looked like he just wrestled the match, or he wrestled with his thoughts or something, because he looked like he was sweating. I'm like, why are you sweating? Like, what have you been doing? Maybe he was doing push-ups. Maybe, who knows? The best part that made me laugh though, when he said, "I'm the best," when he said that in that promo, "I'm the best." I'm like, dude, you're not the best. You're going in there with the best power machine, and it's not gonna be good for you.
We get a video package setting up the Impact Tag Team title match. Of course, New Japan's Pro Wrestling's Finn Juice, David Finlay and Juice Robinson, returned to Impact for a title defense against the men they defeated, the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. We get an early onslaught by the champions. The challengers slow things down. The Gallows added a cheap pump kick to the face of Finlay to seize control. The big man worked Finlay over a headlock, driving the air out of him, making it nearly impossible to get to his partner. Finlay brought Gallows down with an uppercut from the ropes, dodged Anderson on route to a hot tag to Robinson. That quickened the pace of the match and sparked the babyface comeback. Robinson fired up on the heels, delivering centos and cannonballs ahead of a quality near fall, and then outside to a nice high five to D'Lo. I think D'Lo thought he was going to get slapped for a second, and then realised it was a high five. It's like, all right, yeah.
Listen, this match, I don't know, maybe it's me, but am I seeing something that the Good Brothers might break up? Because during the attempt pin on, I think they had either Juice or one of those guys. You see Anderson telling Gallows, hurry up, do this, hurry up. And, like, he's telling them, giving him orders of what to do, whatever. He looked frustrated. And they ended up getting pinned. And my thing is, please tell me that Impact is not thinking about splitting up the Good Brothers. Because that's what I saw. I saw, like I said, during that toward the ending of the match, you see Anderson telling Gallows, hurry up, come in the ring. He was outside. It's like the communication were off and whatnot. And I'm like, why? And I was surprised, to be honest, that Finn Juice actually won this. Not because they're bad, whatever, Go ahead.
Well, we'll get on to that in just a second because we see the champions utilising demolition, decapitation, even for me to say. They could not put the challenge away. It's up the Doomsday device, but Gallows sent Finlay tumbling to the floor. Back in the heels, wiped out Robinson, but the resilient charismatic champion kicked out. The Good Brothers set up for Magic Killer, but Finlay wiped Anton out, allowing Robinson to execute a small package on Gallows to score the win. Another surprise, but I think the way it ended lead the match. But like I said, what were your thoughts on this one?
Well, I mean, like I said, I was surprised that Finjuice retained because I figured like, okay, these guys are not going to work in Japan for a couple of weeks and they're going to tape or whatever they're going to do. Because I thought the Good Brothers were going to win the belts back. You know what I'm saying? You know, being that those belts been in Japan for over a month. So, I mean, you even heard it on D'Lo Brown saying, "Oh, you know, we're Impact guys. We want those belts back home." And I'm like, "Okay, D'Lo, well, what are you talking about? You know, I see the Good Brothers winning it, but it was, like I said, that's why I said toward the end when they tried to do the Magic Killer, like Anderson and Gallows were not on point. So what's going to be the excuse now that they lost to Finjuice again? So, well, I mean, I guess like I said earlier in the podcast, I mean, Impact is being smart. They're utilizing Finjuice because now they keep those belts back in Japan, and people, you know, probably want to see Impact, see what was going on there.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Brown and Striker reintroduced themselves as the match started because, of course, it's featured in NJPW World. So any New Japan match that's in America, be it Dynamite, Impact, wherever, it is on the app to kind of watch, which is quite cool. And the Good Brothers, we thought we were going to see a more serious side, but, you know, especially LG, a bit goofy with the earring and the kind of the stuff like this. I know we talk about more serious side, but is this going to lead to a rematch between these two teams, or do you think they could, Finjuice maybe lose the Impact titles to another team? And what team? You know, I think that's the problem.
And that's exactly what I was about to say. Which team is out there who's gonna beat these guys? Unless Finding by Design decides to put team up Doring and W. Morrison and have them as a tag team. You know what I'm saying? Because right now the tag team scene in Impact is not big either. They just lost. I think Reno Scum just finished up with Impact. They're not going to be there anymore. So, and then Triple XL. Come on, you got to be joking on that.
Yeah, God,
no. And then, they just the Good Brothers just beat Crazy Steve and Torres on the Go Home show. So, I mean, they're probably going to end up having another match, maybe, and maybe another disqualification. But then, that will make no sense. Like, why would you put another disqualification when you couldn't beat the guys twice on a regular match?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So it could be up in the air. We don't know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Again, it was a kind of nice surprise because you're thinking, oh, we maybe didn't see that coming, you know. So I thought it was a good match, but I don't think it was anything special. And I don't know if it's a case of maybe two teams not gelling or whatever it was, 10-minute match, wasn't it? I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. What are you going to score it?
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.5. I think their first match was better than this one because I guess the anticipation of having a New Japan team wrestling an Impact team and then the belts on the line the first time, this was more like, okay, I seen these guys. They did pretty much almost the same thing they did in the first match, you know. But the difference, like I said, well, what I saw was toward the end, Anderson getting frustrated with Gallows because Gallows was not on point with him. So I don't know where they're going with this. I hope that they're not trying to break him up or do something crazy, which will make no sense because they're still part of the whole storyline with Omega. But like I said, I was surprised that Finjuice retained.
I think without a doubt, we've talked about the Good Brothers kind of being the biggest superstars or biggest, wrestlers on the Impact show as well. So it'd be good for them to be kept together. 2% went the Good Brothers on the poll as well. And prediction-wise, both went for Good Brothers as well. So it's 2-2 with that. And then we see Gia Miller stood outside of Kenny Omega's locker room and knocked on the door. Don Callis walked out, said Omega wasn't available because he was preparing for the main event. Callis touted himself as a man who changes the course of history. He said champion versus champion doesn't happen in this industry. We are living history. Callis said Swan will be an orphan in the match because no one in the back will help him. Callis claimed he had a vision of a match when Omega was just 10 years old. He said that he and Omega will be and everyone will be a part of history. another good promo from Don Callis, really. I mean, there's not that much else can be said.
The Invisible Hand. I love that. I love that title. The Invisible Hand. I'm gonna start calling myself the Invisible Podcast. So I think I'm gonna use that. The Invisible Podcast. So you still see it to make history. So how you call it? But Callis is great on the mic. He is like, I think this whole storyline. I think that this whole thing set up the way they're doing it. I mean, Callis, when he talks, I mean, even though he said some crazy stuff on the press conference, but he's good at the mic. You can't ask for a better person to tell a story the way he does it.
I think without a doubt. Then we see a video package setting up the Knockouts title match. Of course, the co-main event of the evening, Durana Pratso just retired, Jazz earlier in the month, and Tenille Dashwood got an opportunity for justice. But like we talked about, both great talents in the ring. Before I get on to the match, why is Deonna Purrazzo so good for anybody that may be just watching her for the first time?
Because Deonna Purrazzo, first of all, I followed Deonna Purrazzo since Ring of Honor, 2014, I think, or 2015. And then she went to NXT. NXT did not take advantage of her skills and what she brought to the table. So now the Deonna Purrazzo you've seen right now is the Deonna Purrazzo that I said it this past Sunday on my podcast. She is right now the best women's world champion right now, because when the woman is in that ring, when she works a body part, she does it, and she does it lovely. Like, she'll focus on body parts. And it's not like she'll start with the arm and then she'll start with the leg and then she'll go with the neck. No, she starts with one body part and work on that throughout the whole match. And that's what makes her good. And like I said, you're only as good as who you're facing. And right now, there's nobody in Impact that could beat that woman. I don't care who it is, who they bring. She's gonna have to go to AEW to wrestle the Sheetas, the Britt Baker, the Thunder Rosas, in order for her to level up. Because right now, with this forbidden door, I mean, the door is open. She could go out there and wrestle NWA World Champion Serena Deebs, and that'll be a classic. Because those two, Serena Deebs is just magic in there.
I think without a doubt, and we can see it with the talent on the show, but we see early grappling gave way to a moment of sustained advantage for Pratso, for Dashwood rocked the champion with a clothesline him out of the comeback. Ciampolo did not allow for separation, holding on tightly to a challenger, delivering a German suplex. When Dashwood did find a moment of separation, she delivered a butterfly suplex into the corner, then added a crossbody for a 2 count. At ringside, Kimber Lee wiped out Caleb with a K, ensuring Dashwood's social media manager would not make his presence felt. Back in the ring, Pratso tried for a falling headbutt, which looked so... I mean, Pratso's a great talent. Yeah. But she just dropped like a sack of shit. Let's no doubt.
Yeah, I don't know what she was doing there. That called me up.
Yeah. Dashwood managed to roll out the way. The challenger then delivered a spotlight kick, which was on point. And that was it. I thought, this is it. But Lee broke up the pin. The Aussie wiped out Lee and Susan on the floor, but fell prey to a rolling exploder. And then Purrazzo applied a Fujiwara armbar. Dashwood escaped, but she did not escape from the Queen's Gambit, as the Virtuosa successfully retained the title. And then quickly after the match, the Hills beat Dashwood down until Taylor Wilde returned to Impact and laid out Purrazzo's associate standing tall to close out the segment of the show. So what were your thoughts on the match? And, of course, Taylor Wilde coming back for the first time in a decade.
Let's go with the match first. Again, I think Deonna Purrazzo brings the best out of her opponents, because I was expecting Tenille Dashwood to wrestle the way she's been wrestling the last couple of pay-per-views that I've seen. Very laid back, do a little moves, and play to to anybody who's outside. This match, you saw that Tenille Dashwood had to bring her A game in this match, and she, by her bringing her A game, she forced Deonna Purrazzo to actually, bring up her level, her game. I don't understand what the hell she was doing, going up the top rope and trying to do a headbutt, like she's Superfly Snuka. But other than that, I mean, Tenille Dashwood and Deonna Purrazzo actually brought a match that it was very interesting. It wasn't a bad match. It was two good individuals. And like I said, Tenille Dashwood brought her A game, because in the beginning it looked like she was going to do the same shit she does all the time, but Deonna wasn't having it. Deanna was like, you gonna bring your A game here, and they delivered. I think they delivered a great match. I just didn't like the interference by Kimberly and Susan, but these are two heels, who are you gonna choose? I would have picked Deanna Purrazzo out of both of them. Now Taylor Wilde coming back, I said to myself, why? Well, what is she gonna do? She's not gonna be Deanna Purrazzo. The girl's haven't been in Impact for 10 years, So she's gonna be the next challenge, and Deanna Purrazzo is gonna get, I'll be surprised if she beat Deanna. I think Deanna Purrazzo is gonna go to the next level. I see her in Impact. I mean, in AEW.
But the thing is, it's nice to see aggression from Tenille and maybe motivation as well, like we talked about. But when you're working against the best woman outside of WWE, then you have to be on, which I think Purrazzo, Baker, Rose, all that was great. But I think Purrazzo at the moment can be in that was working kind of different level. Both for heels, so it'd be nice to see the roles defined as well. Whereas Tenille more facey, even though it's Kayla with a K, or what they're doing with Purrazzo. But it's a great match. Can't wait to see a rematch. Nice to see Taylor, but like you said, she's going to be there as cannon fodder for Purrazzo. What are you gonna score that out of 5?
I'll give it a 3 3/4. It was a decent for a women's match.
Give that. Yeah, I'm about to say I'm going to give that a 4 because I just like both women, and it's nice to see Dashwood working hard, and with Purrazzo, she can do no wrong in my eyes at this moment in time.
Yeah. Me too. Purrazzo right now. Like I said, she's the number 1 women's champion right now. But a lot of people may not agree, especially WWE, universe fans. Bianca Belair's the best. Bianca Belair has not shown me anything yet as far as a world champion. She is good, but right now, Deanna Purrazzo, she's on another level.
Yeah, but like I said, let's not get that involved because you got Kaylee Ray as 600-day NXT UK Women's Champion, so she's not too bad either. But like you said,
I forgot. Sorry.
The dream matches. No, that's fine. Poll-wise, Tiona got 59% of the vote. Prediction-wise, both went for Tiona, so it's 3-3. And then we find out Under Siege is announced for May 15th. Steven Seagal better fucking host that. I tell you, if they've not done that, they are missing a trick.
You'll see Steven Seagal's fat ass with a fucking Navy suit on talking about welcome to Under Siege.
Yeah, welcome to Impact. Now, you can just imagine. And then, of course, we saw last year the build-up for Impact Wrestling Slammiversary, of course, hinting at a vast number of wrestlers have been released for WWE. Well, have released a load of wrestlers again. And so the advert for this one, for Slammiversary coming up, which I didn't say the date, had Samoa Joe, Mickey James, Chelsea Green, along with the flags of Mexico and Australia, of course, Iconics, Kalisto, all that released on April 15th. We see quick clips of New Japan's Okada and Naito as well, teasing more of a crossover between Impact and top of Japanese promotion. What did you think of that advert? It's pretty spot on.
Listen, and this is what I'm saying. AEW is not taking advantage of this New Japan stuff. If Impact is running with it, and if they do bring anybody, especially Naito and who was the other one? There was Naito and the Pimp, the Tokyo Pimp. They used to be, I forgot that tag team name, but they used to be in there back in the days. So if you bring Samoa Joe, you bring Chelsea Green, you bring Naito, the Tokyo Pimp in there, and this event, the anniversary show, it's going to be off the bombs. I mean, that would be probably better than this pay-per-view they just had. But it'll be nice to see Samoa Joe back in TNA. But I would rather have him go to Japan and wrestle in Japan, New Japan Wrestling. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Very interesting.
Well, like I said, and I like the way Impact will go, right, we've got you here at this moment in time. Let us tell you what our next kind of, because they also announced Double or Nothing as well. And they said, right, these are our next events. And this is what's good. It's no better time to do it. But we've seen all the hype, grandeur, pomp and circumstance. And it came to a head in the night's main event as AEW World Champion Kenny Omega battled Impact Wrestling World Champion Rich Swann in a title versus title, one unified title holder guaranteed by the end of the night. We see the broadcast team set up a video package, and then we see Mauro Ranallo, who was seated in between Striker and Brown. He said his goosebumps had goosebumps, and he showed him what a fucking professional looks like as well. We see the entrances for the main event. Omega came out Don Callis, Doc Gallows, and Carl Anson. Rich Swann was accompanied by Eddie Edwards, Willie Mack, David Penza. Tried to deliver in ring introductions, but Callis took the mic and read through a list of legends and said all insects compared to Omega. Penza introduced Swan. Aubrey Edwards held up the AEW Championship, and Brian Hebner held up the Impact World Championship and TNA titles. What were your thoughts at this moment? How excited were you for the match? Because is it fair to say, yes, however good the match could be, the result was a foregone conclusion?
Well, I said if Rich Swann win, I was gonna riot. I didn't want Rich Swann winning nothing, okay? Because I always felt that Moose should have been in that match. That was my thought. I mean, I was excited. I was like, wow, I'm part of history because I seen title versus title, world titles in my 51. Well, I will be 51 next month. In my 45 years of watching wrestling, I seen Harley Race versus Ric Flair, Harley Race against Bob Backlund, Bob Backlund versus Ric Flair, and no title ever changed because it was always either double disqualification or a 1 hour draw, or whatever. I was like, I am part of history. I'm like, I still want Omega winning it because in my head, I'm saying they still doing that belt collector storyline, and it better be belt collector storyline. I don't want it to change. I don't want to see Rich Swann winning it because they want to still run that how you call it, that narrative about where he came from. Omega all day.
Well, let's get to it. Swann sent a message loudly and clearly, early and often to Omega. He delivered a Phoenix splash from the middle rope onto Omega on the floor, then added some chops about the chest and kicks to the back as the babyface rolled. But Omega suckered Swann in low and went to work, established control. He spiked Swann head first onto the ring apron and added an IO shoulder for a near fall. Now, on the apron, even the commentators weren't sure because obviously Swann does the handspring, But yeah. I mean, even to do that bump with the injury Swann had was incredibly dangerous, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, when I saw him do that, and I said, then he hit, and then he dropped his head on the canvas, and then he fell. I'm like, what was he trying to do? And I guess he probably didn't know that was gonna happen, but how you call it? And I'm sorry about that. I got a little phone call at this. I didn't know. I didn't know he got hurt. But then when they showed the replay, I was like, wow. That's first of all, even to do that bump is dangerous because we talk about you dropping head first. You don't know what you could get. Spinal injury, you could get a neck injury. A lot of things. So that was kind of dangerous.
I think without a doubt. And then we see Omega working the head and neck, showing flashes of arrogance and overconfidence along the way. So crush and rocked Omega with a back mule kick to the face and a standing frog splash for 2. He had a Frankensteiner from the ropes for another close call. The fight headed to the top before both men slipped in a kind of ugly, dangerous back body drop spot. I weren't really sure what they were attempting then.
Oh, there was a couple of stuff that they did. I think the first one, I don't know what they were trying to do, but they fell. I think they were trying to do some Hurricanrana stuff, and they fell. They fell a couple of times. The second one was a little crazy. I think Omega was trying to do a one-wing angel from the top rope. I don't know. They were trying to make it real wild. The way I'm thinking, the way I'm looking.
Yeah, like he said, I mean, Omega fought back, delivered a V trigger. He looked for the one-winged angel, but Swann escaped. Omega answered a spinning heel kick to the back of the neck. And then we see Omega attempted another V trigger and sat Swann up on the top rope for an avalanche one-winged angel. Swann tried to slide out the back with Sunset Flip powerbomb into like another ugly spot. And then the champions exchange strikes for Omega rock Swann with a snapdragon suplex. He added another as the commentary team questioned how much Swann's neck could withstand. Swann delivered one cut that stunned Omega, but a second flattened Brian Hebner by accident. Are you fucking again? You knew with the second referee, you knew a ref bump was coming. You just knew it. Like in the history of wrestling, like any time, special enforcer.
But that's why they had the second referee because you knew that shit was coming.
To be fair, Aubrey Edwards had assumed control of the match, and then stopped Omega using a chair from ringside, and commentators going, "Oh, well done." Swann then executed the handspring cutter. He delivered a Richard Oak driver, but could not keep his opponent down. Swann tried for the Phoenix splash, but missed, landed on his feet. And Swann did this. I mean, I know it's a couple of botches, but the athleticism of Swann when he was landing on his feet in some of the exchanges was was really, really good. Omega tried for the one wing angel, but Swin fought out of it. Opted for a German suplex instead. He then a J driller for a 2 and executed consecutive V-trigger knees. I don't know if Matt Striker said it or Mauro Ranallo, but I did say, your fellow Canadian won with this very move in the opening matchup, and he's trying it again now. I quite like that between the two, if you know what I mean.
I think Striker did. It might have been Striker. But Striker was all over the fucking place. Fucking guy was a pain in the ass.
It's the first thing I liked that he said. Yeah. Omega thought at the end was a mini Willie Mack at ringside. He rocked Swan with another V-trigger. Swan finally shook off the V-trigger for one more Phoenix Splash attempt. He missed. Omega delivered another V-trigger and put Swan away with the one-winged angel for the win. The new champion celebrated with the titles. Don Callis and the Good Brothers as Edwards Mack tended to Swan. What were your thoughts on this mega unification main event?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I was like a mark. When Omega won the belt, I was so happy. I was jumping up. My daughter looked at me like I was crazy because I was like, yes, he won. He won the match. Listen, I knew once, once Omega hit that V-trigger, it was over. I mean, even though Swan got up, I think, on the first 2, but when he kept hitting him when he put the knee pads down and he kept hitting him with that V-trigger and Swan's spit was hanging out of his mouth, I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to come. They did. My biggest concern of this match was the delivery. If they were going to deliver all the hype that they were advertising for like 2 or 3 months, you know? And to be honest, they delivered. This match was pretty good. I like that Rich Swann was that underdog. He wrestled that way through the whole match. He was that underdog. I got to give him credit because he took 2 V-triggers and he still was trying to make comebacks. Yeah, they did little bodges here and there, but I think they were trying to entertain the fans who were watching at home to go crazy, whatever. Even though they were both tired, sweating, whatever. But the match delivered. I mean, this match was great, and I want to see it again with somebody else. But Rich Swann, he showed what he was made of. But ain't nobody beating Kenny Omega once you get V-triggered.
Yeah, but this is the thing, and the problem with that is the fact is with Impact they've been building up. Not even the fact that he's going to win because they knew he wasn't, but it's like, can he kick out of the one-winged angel? And he didn't even give that opportunity. Could you go, the champion went down, but at least he's like kind of first ever man to get shoulder up. They didn't give him that opportunity. I was more impressed by Rich Swann in this match than Omega. And I know because he's a kind of babyface, but like you said, you need to feel sorry for a babyface. And I think with Swann, I did. And the kind of the selling that he did. And like I said, towards the end, you're thinking, he's pretty much done here. Should there have been more to get the job done? Or do you think that was enough to show that Omega is better than Swann? And it's the case of they need a stronger challenger as opposed to that's the best that Impact had got.
This is why I told you when Swann beat Moose that I don't think Swann would have been that guy. I think Moose, if you beat Moose, who's a guy who's like almost 7 feet, he's doing stuff from the top rope or whatever, and you put him against Omega, he showed you at Hard to Kill that he can hang with Omega. You know what I'm saying? Omega hit him with V-triggers and Moose can't cut it, getting up. I understand what you're saying about giving an opportunity for Rich Swann to get up for the one-wing angel, but I don't think, the V-triggers alone, I think me personally, and him getting him with V-trigger, he still was trying to make comebacks. I think that's enough because remember, you want to protect that one-wing angel. You know what I'm saying? Because one-wing angel in Omega's career has always been the go-to finish that makes him who he is right now. I understand you want to feel sorry for the babyface because he was the babyface in the match. But if you give him if you hit him with a one-wing angel, and then he gets up, and then you got to hit him with another one-wing angel, then in reality is like, okay, then Omega can't be walking around calling himself the best in the business, the bout machine, whatever, because someone got up from the one-wing angel. You know what I'm saying? Not even John Moxley ever got up from the one-wing angel. So they're trying to protect that move. That's the way I'm seeing it.
And that's exactly, and protecting that move and Omega is more important to them than the kind of the relationship with Impact, which is not a problem, but it's like it's saying, oh, we'll use that kind of another day. If it is a champion versus champion, two companies champions going at it, then surely you need to kind of the most that you can get. I'm not talking about a Rock and Austin at WrestleMania with finisher, but maybe say a little bit more. But I still think it's a really good matchup. There's no doubt about it. You know, both men really delivered. I'm going to score that a 4 3/4 out of 5. What are you going to score it?
Let's say 4 3/4. If it wasn't for, I think if it wasn't for those two bots, which I mean, I saw it, but I hope other trolls and everybody. I 4 3. If they would have, let's put it this way, they would have executed what they were trying to do in those two spots, it would have been a 5. But after 4 3/4, I mean, and I got to give credit to Rich Swann because, like I said, he got hit hard with those V triggers. When Omega hits the V triggers, and he's that strong style wrestler, I give that to Swann because he took 2 shots that I was surprised he got up when I think Omega hit him with a V trigger and covered them, and he still got up. So I got to give him that much. I mean, it was a good. And like I said, it was a good match. You can't ask for nothing better than that.
Yeah, without doubt. Poll-wise, Omega got 75% of the vote. Their predictions.
Are you surprised?
The final score. I'm not surprised at that amount, but I'm surprised it's not 95%. To be fair, because anybody that thought Swan would actually have a chance is.
But you got a lot of Omega. You got a lot of Omega haters too. A lot of people don't like Omega. You know what I'm saying? Like they complained that they wanted the cleaner Omega from Japan. Now that you got the cleaner Omega, they don't like him either. So what the hell?
Well, with Omega, I'm, like I said, I'm a fan, not a fucking like these diehard guys of him, the greatest ever. To me personally, he's not on the level of Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels yet, but that's because I've not been accustomed to him compared to everybody else, which is not an issue, but it's when you say something, people go, oh, how dare you? He's the greatest of all time. Well, no, let's see how it plays out,
Yeah, so I think the best world champion right now in wrestling is Walter.
Yes, I would not argue with that.
Walter's
the
best right now. Walter's the best right now because nobody can beat that guy. That guy got some hands bigger than a frying pan. He hits you with that. Ask Tommaso Ciampa.
I tell you what, Jack Stars, when Walter debuted in NXT UK about 4 years ago, the first chop he gave to Jack Stars, his chest is still marked by it. So that's how strong. That's how strong Walter. Do you know what I mean? Like when you talk about that. But we talk about Impact, like I said, final scores for that's 4-4 between me and Dan. We've just got 3 things left. We've got rating, MVP, and match. Looking at the scores, my match was the main event, 4 3/4. Your match of the night would be the X Division title match.
The X Division Championship. That match, from start to finish, was the best. I think was the best match of the whole card, and that was just the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I think if the Swan and Omega match would have been a little better, it would have been probably far more better if they were able to execute what they were trying to do. But the X Division match, that was like I said, if you blink, you miss.
I'll be right out. The MVP of the night for me, looking through the card, I've got to say Rich Swann because he was in a lose-lose situation kind of thing of where no one really gave him a chance. But I don't think there's any moments in that match I thought, oh, he's got this. But it's just the story of him giving everything. He's got to be my MVP of the night.
I think that I'm going to agree with you with that because, like I said, for a guy, I don't know how many V triggers he got. I think about 6, 7 he took. And he still was there fighting. I mean, Josh Alexander, I could go with him also. But Rich Swann, I mean, like I said, he took about 6, 7 V triggers. I don't think anybody that I've been following Omega since 2014. I think I've been following Omega. So it's been like 7 years. I haven't seen anybody take as much V triggers like Swann did, and still was trying to beat. Still trying to beat Omega. So probably Okada. Maybe Okada, but no. But I think Swann MVP.
Yeah, without a doubt. So Swann's our MVP. We've got our match tonight, so it's just finally a rating out of 10 for yourself.
I give the whole card. Will be I give it I give it a 9. I like the whole freaking card. Probably people gonna be like, "What? You crazy?" I give it a 9. They put this card together and they delivered. There was no match in there that got me bored or nothing. They were all interesting matches. I mean, you can't pull off the kickoff show because the kickoff show, that's a kickoff show. We're talking about the
yeah. I'm gonna say for me 8.5, only because with that much hype, I want to see one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in my life, and I don't think I came away from Rebellion going, that is, you know what I mean? That is oh my god! I came out of WrestleMania, especially night 2, how bad it was going. What a main event that was! I didn't get the feeling of that. I got excited about what's to come for Impact, but it wasn't that show. And like you said, the tag team title matchup with Finn Juice just felt kind of there a little bit. There's a lot of other things that were great.
But I guess because you probably was expecting something different. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, I was expecting something different, a title change. I think the only thing with them was, like I said, their first match was better than the second one. I mean, they did almost the same thing in the second match that they did the first, but I think as far as the tag team title, it was just the fact that Finn Juice retained. I didn't expect that. Same thing with the Fire and Flavor, Jordan Grace and Ellery. I mean, I think if you put how many matches were there, like 6, 7? I think from 1 to 7, 8. That the women's tag team match. I think they just did that one because they just put a new tag team together. They did some WWE shit there. So I think that was probably I will rank out of the 8 matches, that would be number 8 for me.
I think my reasoning is that Knockouts title last match. I mean, there's 4 matches there that got over 4, and the other ones kind of really didn't. So I think half the matches kind of exceeded expectations. Maybe the other half was just kind of like standard stuff. But I mean, for Impact though, I mean, we're comparing this to AEW and WWE stuff, but for Impact, is it the best show that they've had this year for the stuff that we've watched?
For this year, yeah. For this year, yeah. Yeah, because Hard to Kill wasn't all that. I think the 6-man tag was pretty good. Then they had I seen Sacrifice. The that was alright. But it's just the way they started the show. Like you didn't have like the last 3 Impact reviews that we done. They always opened it up with Decay. That was like my biggest beef about. This time they opened up with an X Division match that I gave it a 5 because they started off correctly. And if I put it together, if I compare it to last year's Rebellion was garbage. And probably because it was the beginning of the pandemic, so everything was different. But this year is like, it was great. I mean, I like the way they started everything. I mean, this is the best pay-per-view they had so far this year. I think, but never know. It may be number 2 at the Slammiversary.
Well, and that is the next time. I know you'll definitely be with us for that. Definitely. This Slammiversary show coming up. WNR will be back with Impact, of course, Under Siege next month. But that is it for today. Don't forget, our follow of the week is Moonfire Lark. We're across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNRJR. Do you want to show off, plug your stuff quickly?
Oh, yeah. You can find me on Apple Podcasts, the Chokeslam Wrestling Report, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I'm also the Power TV 4. They have the streaming stuff there. They got my YouTube channel, the Chokeslam Wrestling Report. You can check it out for free. So check that out.
Out the WNR also on Facebook and Instagram, across all Google platforms. Send us an email, WNRpodcast at gmail.com, YouTube, WNR Podcast, we have all the latest clips of podcasts at the same time on YouTube as the new SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. So that is it. Our next episode will be May 4th. It's a 7-year anniversary show for the WNR Podcast. And of course, you will be featured on that one, sir. And I was just thinking now, we've got AEW coming up. We've got Blood and Guts coming up, haven't we? I think on the 5th of May.
Yeah, yes, it is.
I think that's coming up there.
Yeah,
do you want to maybe on the May 12th cover the one episode of Dynamite and the
But we could do it sometime during that week. Oh, we could do it that weekend. That same week.
But
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I said, it will be released May 12th. So if we meet up beforehand, do the weekend and get it done for people, because they do love us doing the AEW show together. But until then, I have been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the Ultimate One, me, and thank you everybody for listening. Bye.